What the heck is going on, fellow Walking Dead fans? Solid Dave Snake here, continuing my reviews for the brand new Walking Dead Comic Series 5 action figures by McFarlane Toys. And in this review, we're going to go over the brand new Rhee action figure. And technically this isn't 100% brand new, as with this past year's SDCC Skybound exclusive, we got a bloody variant to this Glenn. So the bloody variant was actually the first release. He came packaged with a bloody variant of that original Negan action figure. So it was a really cool 2-pack. If you want to see the review, I'll put a link in the description below, but paid great homage to issue 100 and was really fitting with what's coming up in the TV series. So it was nice timing on that. And we'll get a little more into the variations between the two here in a bit. But right now, let's just start getting into his accessories. I'm going to do the same thing with this Glenn action figure that I did with the previous review of Shane, where I grade this action figure on 5 different categories: accessories, sculpt, paint, articulation, and presentation. So, first off, we have another head on a pike here. And it is a beloved character to a lot of fans of the comic book. This was one of the more important deaths from issue 144, and that is Rosita. And I think this head sculpt could be a customizer's dream, since they have not released a Rosita action figure yet for the comic books. I could see a lot of people utilizing this and making their own Rosita action figures with this head after a repaint. But as is, this is great. Not too overly zombie-ish, but the skin tone is different. It's not a human skin tone anymore. It is the undead. And they have her mouth opened a little bit with a little bit of blood coming out. Of course, zombied the eyes, very dark underneath. They really nailed her hat. Looks like that olive green army hat she always wore. And they did a good job with the ponytails as well. And of course we have the gore, where she was severed at the neck. And all these spears have a little bit of blood up at the top where they go into the actual head. But once again, this feels fragile. All of them do in this series. And the base is different. All these bases will connect with each other to make a little diorama piece. So I'm pretty much dubbing this series the build a head on a spike diorama set. Kind of like the Build-A-Figures with Marvel Legends and other toy companies. This is kind of building a diorama. So I really like that. And he does come with the same axe that bloody variant Glenn came with. However, this is a clean version. The head of the axe is very sparkly silver. And just to show you a comparison with the other Glenn's axe, this one is all bloody. Same exact axe. Really like the blood splatter on this one though. So, neat to have a bloody and clean version. But the coolest accessory is this new Glenn comes with a totally different head sculpt for the issue 100. And hold on, let me get them both up close here and get a focus in. And you can see how different these two are. And a lot of people have started dubbing this new one the first hit Glenn head sculpt. This was from the first hit that he took from Negan, and the one that came with the SDCC exclusive is the final beaten down version of Glenn. So this is an exclusive to the 2-pack. We were all kind of wondering that whenever they first showed pictures of the packaging saying it was coming with an exclusive head sculpt, and we were thinking, well, on the internet sites, this Glenn from Comic Series 5 was listed as having an alternate head. So we thought it was kind of going to be the same one, and they totally surprised us with this new head sculpt. And now let's just get a closer look at this one by itself. And you can see his left eye starting to bulge out. And the paintwork for the blood is a little sloppy on this. It looks okay on this side, but you can tell here this is actually sculpted in, and I guess that's a line to draw in the blood to give it some depth, make it look like it's thick running down his head, but the paint wasn't executed too well. And the top of the head is very gory. Not as gory as the other one, but still pretty bad. Oh no, Negan took out Glenn again. But I need to pull him up here and show you how to swap the heads anyways. Pulls off very easy. You can see the ball joint under here. And the alternate head snaps in with ease. And that looks pretty good. So, very cool they added a different head sculpt. I was really surprised with that it wasn't the same one from the 2-pack. Very pleased. And that one will fit on the other one just as easy, on the bloody version of Glenn. So, for accessories, he comes with, just one weapon, but it is cool, the axe. And the head on the spike, the Rosita head, is great. And then the alternate head just takes it another step. They could have added a couple more in with them, maybe some more weapons, but I am pleased with the accessories, and I'll give them an 8 out of 10. But now let's take a look at this Glenn from head to toe. Check out his sculpt and paint. And I think this head turned out really good. That looks a lot like Glenn Rhee from the comic books. Of course, has his trademark hat. And you can see right here, this really pisses me off. Some of this paint from the sweater, from the hood, has leaked onto the skin. So, I'm sure they're not all going to be like that, but it is very upsetting on this one. You can see another splotch right there. So that really takes away from the neck. But the rest of the paint on the head is clean, and on this side of the neck. Overall, there's not a lot of paint detail on this figure. It really doesn't need to be. And as you can see, if I open up this outer jacket piece, this is a separate piece, so you could take this off. And that's what really makes it a customizer's dream, because underneath you could paint this shirt. Well, it's really a sweater. But you could paint this about any color of some of the shirts Glenn has worn in the comic books. Of course, you'd have to switch out the arms. And I actually have a problem with these arms. I think they look a little unnatural with this Glenn. They almost look a little too short. I know that this main jacket piece is a little bulky. Almost would have rather had a little bit of a slimmer Glenn. But that jacket definitely makes him look a little more bulkier. And it's weird how the sculpt is on these joints with Glenn. He does have good articulation there, but I don't know, his elbows just look extra big. And it looks a little weird down on the knees, the way they sculpted it as well. But overall, his clothing is basic, but very well done. I mean, it doesn't need a whole lot of paint variation. And his overall body is so basic, you could use it to customize a lot of different other characters as well. And where the hands connect into the actual lower part of the arms, it is a little bit of an eyesore with the ball hinges on this one more than some other figures. They're a little more noticeable on him. Just a lot of separation there between the hand and the end of the jacket. And there's some good wrinkled detail on his pants. Not a lot of paint variation. But some good looking folds. However, it does look a little weird around the knees unless you're going to have them in one certain position. One set position. But it's kind of hard to stand Glenn unless you bend his knees a little bit. So they're always going to look a little off. And his boots turned out nice. There's a little bit of color variation here. A little bit of brown up top. A little more black on the bottom. And there is definition on the bottom of the feet. So they don't really need to add detail on the tread of some of the footwear of these figures, but they go the extra mile and do it. So that's pretty cool. So overall, with the sculpt and paint, he's not 100% perfect, but pretty darn close. So I'm going to give an 8 for the sculpt and an 8 for the paint. And for the articulation, he's pretty darn good. He's a little lacking in some spots, but overall, all right. At the head, he does have a ball joint, which will spin all the way around. Look only that far down, but that far up. And you can get a little bit of tilt from side to side. His shoulders will go up to 90 degrees. However, it looks a little off whenever you do it that way. Kind of takes his shoulders completely away, that sculpt. But they will go up 90 degrees and rotate all the way around. At the elbows, he does have a hinge, which will go all the way up to 90 degrees and rotate all the way around. Spin all the way at the wrist, and he has that hinge in there, which will go that far up, that far back. And he has a cut at the waist, which you can't get past that point. And you can't get past that point on that side. His shirt under here will catch it. Of course, he can do a full split. Kick up to 90 degrees. And back almost to 90 degrees as well. And he does have the single hinge at the knee, which will go this far back. Back straight. And rotate all the way around. However, that sculpt's going to look a little off whenever you do that. And he does have a ball joint on both feet, which you can get to rotate all the way around if you wish. And get a little bit of tilt and pivot out of it. So overall, his articulation's not as good as the Shane's, but still really good. I'm going to give it another 8 out of 10 here. And for overall presentation, really, the sky is the limit on this figure, especially for customizers. But as is, this is the best Glenn action figure that has been made for the comic book series. Of course, we did get in Series 2 a Glenn and Riot gear from the prison story arc. And a lot of fans were pissed that that was the first Glenn Rhee action figure release. So, a lot of fans have to be pleased that we now have a more common, civilian-looking Glenn with this action figure. And he will look good posed with your other Walking Dead action figures. So for presentation, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Across the board, 8 out of 10s for this Glenn to give him a 40 out of 50. So not a great action figure, but a very good action figure. And one that I still have to give a high recommendation and a pickup for. If you haven't got the 2-pack, the bloody version of Glenn, I highly recommend you get this one. At least get one of the two. I could see why some people wouldn't get both. If you already got that bloody one, I could see why completists may not get this Glenn, but I think he's pretty darn good. So, alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed the review, and stay tuned because I am going to review Prisoner Negan next.